Let me get this straight. So the grown behind adult parents are not having sex in their own home, but their child is? What the heck kind of weird Caucasian paradox have I entered? What's up? It's Nikki. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. In this video, I will be reviewing episode 3 of the HBO series, and just like that, the Sex and the City spinoff show. So, out of 5 stars, I would probably give the first 2 episodes a 1 star. Now, this 3rd episode, I would give this 3 stars. 3 out of 5 stars. Now, the show is still a mess, child, and they do not know what they are doing with the tone of the show and with the characters. But other than the horrid stand-up comedy scene, I was actually able to enjoy this episode much better than the first 2. I really wish they would like time jump the series and get Carrie out of this depressive grieving stage she's in. I miss the lighthearted, fun dramedy of the original Sex and the City. I miss the witty quips that are just so cringeworthy in this series. It's like they're trying to be witty. When Carrie says, "Thank God my husband died and you came to my husband's funeral, I'm coming to your stand-up special." Is that supposed to be funny? Because it's just awkward. And y'all, nah, child, this day in podcast, man, I cannot. Can we please just stop showing Carrie at this thing? Look, I don't know who Shay Diaz is or if she's a comedian in real life. I always loved all the side characters on Sex and the City. I do not like Shay Diaz. I'm sorry. I'm not indifferent. I don't like her. I do not want to see her doing stand-up in the middle of the goddamn episode. What was that? That stand-up scene for me was way too long. Like, what is this? Did she have a clause in her contract for free promotion for her stand-up? It was really just so awful. Y'all, am I tripping? Let me know in the comments if it's just me. How do y'all feel about the Shay Diaz character? Am I just tripping? Like, is it just me? I want Carrie to quit the podcast so we never have to see Shay Diaz again. Oh, Jesus. I liked her boss from Vogue much better. I also want them to stop dropping Samantha's name. Y'all have already disrespected the legacy of the Samantha Jones character. Y'all have turned her into a petty friend. Just please do not mention her name ever again. But speaking of petty friends, what was with Charlotte and Stanford? They little tiff. Stanford says this has been building for years. What years? I don't recall there ever being an issue or tension between Stanford and Charlotte. What is Charlotte's problem with Stanford? Where did this come from? What's the point of this storyline? I have not seen the Sex and the City series in years, so maybe I'm not remembering well, but I do not recall them ever having an issue or like insinuated issue. But I would love for them to show Stanford in his therapy session talking about Charlotte. I just feel like that would be so funny. Now, in this episode, we find Carrie and Miranda meeting with a lawyer for the reading of Big's will. And why his secretary is there, I have no clue. But we discovered that in his will, Big left Natasha $1 million. Now, for anyone who doesn't remember or is unfamiliar, who ain't privy to the original series, during one of many breakups, Carrie discovers that Big is back in town. I think it was their first breakup. I think Big went and said, "I love you." But she discovers he's back in town and he's with Natasha. I think it was the episode 20-something girls versus 30-something women. Anyway, then Carrie discovers that they are getting married. And she ends up having an affair with Big while he is married to Natasha. Not only do they have an affair, but they have the affair in the woman's home. Now, you know you crossing boundaries. And when Natasha gets home early, Carrie slinks out the back like a rat. Natasha chases her and ends up tripping on the staircase and cracking her front tooth. Now, there were other run-ins with Natasha, including Carrie going to some event wanting to look good because Natasha was there. And rolling over in glee like a pig in mud at a grammatical error from Natasha. Now, these are just the cliff notes of the situation. Now, Carrie is taken aback and confused. But honestly, this is very Big. It's typical Big. And Carrie being befuddled at Big doing a very typical Big thing is very typical Carrie. But what was the point of the Big still has secret storyline? I feel like none of these characters have had any real progression. No real character growth. And this is a prime example. Carrie spiraling and overanalyzing is typical Carrie. And there's no growth or maturity. I'm going to see how the season wraps up because I really want to delve more into this character progression. But I ain't going to do it now. I'm going to see where they go. Big and his secrets and his disregard for Carrie's feelings. I mean, bruh, you older than Carrie. If people die in a natural order, you had to know this would happen. But you didn't think or didn't care to have the conversation with your wife that you leaving your ex-wife whom you cheated on $1 million in your will. And then, child, the lawyer walking 2 feet away in the same room to answer his phone and argue with his wife. What sense did that make? Child, you could have stayed at the table and argued on the dang phone if you were just gonna move 2 feet to the left. Yo, why was the secretary here? Why was Big secretary here? You not the secretary no more. Your boss is dead. Why are you here? Was I the only one confused by this? Carrie is always using Miranda as her lawyer, so we know why she here. Also, child, okay. I don't care about the kids. I'm sorry, but I don't. I wish they could just be in the background, like Charlotte's dog. Meaning, we know you here, but you're not a part of the story, and we don't have to hear you talk. I don't care about Charlotte's daughter not wanting to be called a girl. I'm sorry, I don't. It just don't fit here. Child, put that storyline on This Is Us or something, but not here. I just feel like the kids do not need to be a part of the story, in my humble opinion. Especially Brady's storyline. Him and his girlfriend, their scene was so obnoxious. The storyline of kids having sex in their parents' house is just so disturbing for me. I don't want the kids to be a part of the story. And maybe if they made them a better part of the story, I wouldn't feel this way. But I can't stand anytime these kids is on the screen, child. I was just praying that we did not get any more simulated kid sex scenes in this episode. And we didn't, thank Jesus. I was all into the teen dramas when I was a teen. And I do not recall no simulated sex between dang teenagers. Yo, writers, what are y'all doing with Miranda's character and storyline? Since when is Steve boring and dull? Since when is Harry just here to pop in and pee in the goddamn background? What y'all doing to these characters? Why the heck has a married couple, Steve and Miranda, not had sex for years? Now, the last time we saw them in the first movie, Steve cheated because they weren't having much sex in their marriage. Now, I ain't gonna get into how that ain't really make sense for his character, but now they're both just content with no intimacy in their marriage. Because that makes sense. Why are y'all portraying Steve as if he 100 years old, child? Being 50 does not a sexless marriage create. And hold on now, child. Okay. Hold on now, child. I gotta get myself together. Let me get this straight. So the grown behind adult parents are not having sex in their own home, but their child is? What the heck kind of weird Caucasian paradox have I entered? And Miranda was always a very sexual character. Yes, granted, Miranda was like the one in the group going through the no sex droughts more than the other girls. But Miranda liked sex. Writers, did y'all forget when she was pregnant and dating the guy from the movie Thinner? And had her last like hoorah of sex before she started showing in her pregnancy? Do you not remember when she dated the guy who always had to have sex? I mean, always had to take a shower after having sex. I don't know. The no sex for years when you're married does not make sense. Not even for Miranda. I don't know. Like, whatever, child. Also, why are they pushing this Miranda has a drinking problem narrative? The shooters in her book bag. Do people actually suddenly become alcoholic at 50? Anyway, fussing at the restaurant about why the waiter taking so long bringing her wine. Child, that does not an alcoholic make, because I get the same way when a waiter is taking too long bringing my wine. Also, why are they trying to push this Miranda might like the Shay Diaz character? Miranda has a crush on Shay Diaz narrative. Miranda has always liked men. Okay? Miranda has always liked sex with men. There has never been any... I just hate when they have characters suddenly do things just completely out of the blue that does not make sense. Samantha dating a woman, for me, that made sense. Child, it's Samantha. I wasn't shocked and it didn't feel out of the blue. Miranda Hobbs... I don't know. It just don't make sense with her character. Did the people who... I need to find out who writing this show. Because did y'all watch the original? Is Darren Star a part of this? As I said in my other recap, Miranda was always my personal favorite out of all the girls. But they are really doing a disservice to her character in this spinoff. And since when is Miranda so giddy and over the top excited? Why would Miranda be so giddy about going to Shay Diaz's comedy special? Since when is that the highlight of anybody's week? Why would Miranda be so impressed and tongue-tied by Shay Diaz? I really do not think this show is doing well writing from the perspective of 50-something women. Miranda calling Shay a comedic prophet? Who the hell wrote that? Child, you know what? I ain't even got time for that. Then Miranda being enamored by Shay's generic message of change. Child, I cannot. It was really obvious after the horrid, I can't stress that enough, comedy special that Miranda was not waiting on another car. It was obvious that she was going to the after party, but why lie? Especially when you're hanging out with Carrie's boss, who can easily mention you being at the party. Hello. And yo, is weed legal in New York? Am I just not hip to that? How are they just smoking weed in the middle of a goddamn bar? I just want to know what the writers are trying to do with Miranda and where her storyline is going. Now, y'all, is it just me, or are these characters just getting dumb? I thought you get smart with age, child. First, like I mentioned in my previous video, Carrie not calling 911 and just holding big as he died, child. Now, in this episode, okay, so Carrie is at home and she's searching through big stuff and she ends up looking through his jacket pockets because, you know, she wondered if he had an affair with Natasha, which is when she finds a phone number written on a piece of paper. Okay, who still write numbers down on paper? If someone gives you their number, usually you just put it in your cell phone, child. Anyway, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt on that because my mama probably still be writing stuff, child. People in their 50s is probably still writing. But whatever. Carrie goes to call said number that she's looking at. Me, I would have Googled the number first. But like I said, it's neither here nor there. But when Carrie calls the number that she's looking at from her cell phone, her house phone rings. Who writes their house number down, I don't care how old you is, and puts it in their jacket pocket Who looks at a phone number they just pulled out of their husband's jacket and don't recognize it as their home number? Who dials a number and don't recognize it as your home number? This was so dumb. I mean, this was stupid. Yo, how long have y'all had this phone number? How long have y'all had this phone number? And how long have y'all niggas lived in New York? Because nigga, Big had the dang area code written down as well. Child, why y'all don't know y'all area code? Child, oh God, this was so stupid. Who don't know the area code, child, besides like a 3-year-old? Y'all gotta write that down. Okay, so Carrie is obsessed with Natasha being in Big's will, right? Did they have an affair? Were they in touch? Blase, blase. So Carrie, after all the damage she's done and terrible history she has with this woman, decides it is a good idea to send her an email. Then, when she does not reply within a few hours, Carrie decides it's a good idea to DM her on Instagram. And then, when Natasha blocks her on Instagram, Carrie then decides it's a good idea to not take a hint and go track the woman down at her job. Why did Miranda nor Charlotte tell Carrie to leave this poor woman the hell alone? Because I would have said that to my friend, child. If you're miserable, if you are left with questions about your husband, while he was my husband, you cheated, like, child, keep that over there with you. Don't come bring that over here to me. Leave me be, child. Especially because Carrie already did this. This is why I say did they watch the original series? After the affair, she kept trying to talk to Natasha, who did not want to talk to her. Carrie ended up getting info on where Natasha was having lunch and popped up on the girl. Look, I like Carrie. I always have liked Carrie. But she has always been a very self-centered character. It's like, F how Natasha feel. I need to talk to her. I want to talk to her. F if she wants to talk to me. I don't care. But like I said, no growth with these characters, child. So Carrie goes to Natasha's job, because that's always a good idea, just pop up at people's workplace. And even though she sees Natasha going to the office, the secretary tells Carrie, sorry, she's in Rome. Nigga, you couldn't have said she across town or something. Like, god dang. I guess when this secretary lies, she just goes big, okay? No pun intended. But again, another neon flashing red sign that Natasha does not want to talk to you. So Carrie goes out in a huff because the world revolves around Carrie. And how dare Natasha not give her the answers and closure and conversation that she wants when you were my husband's mistress, child, and you broke my front tooth, child. Now, this was another just characters being dumb. Miranda, Charlotte, and Carrie are standing outside of Natasha's job, and Carrie points up at the window of Natasha's office when suddenly, oh, it's Natasha in her office, in the window. Who would have thought? They make eye contact. So after being in her office looking for her, Carrie gets embarrassed to see her in the window in her office, and she runs away. Child, you were just in her office looking for her. You saw her walk into the building. Why did you run? You knew she wasn't in Rome. I don't know. So much with these characters just feels so juvenile. Is it just me? Now, I've never been to New York, but it sure seemed to be a really small town on this show. Because Carrie conveniently bumps into Natasha later on. She walks into a public restroom while Natasha is on the toilet. Child, writers, why y'all did this to this lady? Child, has she not suffered enough? Has Natasha not suffered enough? Now y'all embarrassing the lady all over again. And why was there no lock on a public restroom door? And if there was a lock, why didn't Natasha use it? Why was Carrie able to just open the goddamn door? Okay, but I'll tell you like this. Natasha is so much kinder than Carrie deserves. And I love Carrie, but I'm just being real. Natasha married Big. She was obviously in love with him probably got as swept away with Big as Carrie did. He hurt her. He cheated on her. She got a tooth knocked out of her freaking mouth. And to hear Natasha say, I don't know why he married me when he was always in love with you. That's so sad. That's so sad. And there's no telling how Natasha felt or reacted when she saw in the paper that Big and Carrie were getting married, because remember, it was in the paper, like Charlotte screamed or something, if I remember correctly, when she saw it in the paper. Big broke this woman's heart. And Carrie was a part of that. Yo, Big was a dirtbag. And I always said that. And I always hated that Carrie kept going back to him. I hated that she ended up with Big. Child, okay, I ain't even finna go down that. I ain't even finna spiral down that rabbit hole. But, you know, you can't fight City Hall. But Carrie and Natasha are not old friends. Your only history is that you had an affair with my husband and caused some expensive and painful dental work for me. Why wouldn't I ignore you? Why would I want to talk to you, child? Why would I want to talk to you? My husband's ex-mistress, now wife. I don't owe you any grace or kindness or explanation or answers, but Natasha, being the class act that she always is, gives Carrie ice for her burn because she burned her hand with hot coffee when she walked into the restroom and was startled to see Natasha sitting on the toilet. Natasha sits down and gives her the answer that she wanted. Natasha has not spoken to Big since their divorce and has no idea why he left her money in his will, but she will be giving the money to charity because she does not want it. Carrie comes to the conclusion that he must have just felt bad. This is his way of saying sorry because he in finance or some bull. Child, if it were me though, I would have let you ponder that question for the rest of your motherfucking life. But hey, that's just me. I like seeing Natasha. I like, you know, seeing her on here. She's still beautiful. She's still graceful. She's still kind. They didn't do anything, you know, unjust with her character like they been doing with all the other characters. And honestly, for me, she always makes Carrie and Big just look like monsters each time we see her because she really did not deserve that, like, what Big did to her. I mean, Carrie ain't a monster, but she makes her look like a monster in this situation. But we know Big is a monster, child. So Natasha mentions that she has 2 kids. I'm not sure if she's married, but I am happy to see that. She seems like she ended up happy. But what was the point of the Big still has secret storyline? Was that just it? Just so we could see Natasha again? Now, I ain't complaining about seeing Natasha again, our child, but what was the point of reverting back to the insecure maniac Carrie always turned into with Big? These characters have had no progression. They are not moving forward. The story is not moving forward. I don't know, child. Child, y'all should have picked up when everyone was like 90 years old in a nursing home, and it would have probably been much more entertaining than this. Anyway, now speaking of a nursing home, speaking of age, what is with the constant references to their age? Why, when Harry is peeing, I don't even know why the hell he peeing in the scene, but anyway, why when Harry is peeing, when Charlotte is on the phone with Carrie, why does he need to make the 100th reference to age? Hello, writers. Yeah, 50-year-olds have more to talk about than just I'm old, he old, she old, we old. When Carrie comes to talk to Miranda in between her classes, yet another reference to age. Oh, God. See, like, y'all, child. First of all, in the original series, Big nor Alexander Petrovsky, their age was not mentioned as much as age is mentioned in this series. I'm 35, and I sure hope that when I'm 50, I am not waking up in the morning saying, I'm old. You know, I'm an old person sitting here. I'm old. Eating breakfast saying I'm the only one here eating toast and I'm old. I'm old. Shopping for a t-shirt. I'm in here shopping for a t-shirt and I'm old. I'm so old. I'm so old. Eating lunch saying, let me get number 7 and I'm old. I mean, child, this is just so ridiculous. It really is. They find some way to say you're the only 50-year-old sitting on this college steps. What are you talking about? And child, when you 20, you don't walk around saying, I'm so young. No one does that. Now, I know that fashion was a huge part of the original Sex and the City series. It was never huge for me, though. As much as I was obsessed with Sex and the City, I'm not a big fashion girl. Especially not the type of fashion that this series was known for. It's just not my taste. I'm just not that, like, girly, frilly of a girl. I'm not really into heels like that. I mean, I like heels. They cute, whatever. But I'm not obsessed and crazy about high heel shoes and all kind of stuff and name brands. It's just not my thing. But the fashion in this series seems pretty awful to me. I'll be looking at these characters like, baby, what is you wearing? Now, somehow in small town New York, Miranda kept running into her professor everywhere on the previous episode. Because, you know, small town New York. But there was no black folk in this episode. We did still get the forced wokeness. I feel like the writers are trying to target the 20-something crowd. Why? I don't know. Leave the youngest out of this. These are 50-something women. Now, the episode ends with Carrie walking to her old apartment and saying, and just like that, I walked myself home. Okay, that's fine if she does not want to live in a home she had with Big, but why not get a new place? I don't know. It just feels like regression. A lot with these characters feels like regression instead of progressing. Anthony, Stanford, Charlotte, Carrie, Steve, nothing feels like these characters have had any real growth. Why take the story backwards? Why take the story back to Carrie being a single girl and in her old apartment? What was the point of the movie and the ending of the series? Like, what's the point? That just doesn't make any sense to me. That's like ending the Buffy the Vampire series with Sarah Michelle Gellar going back to high school. Like, what did we do all this for? Just for the character. Anyway, now, I know it may not sound like it, but I did really enjoy this episode. It was flawed, but it was much more enjoyable for me than the first two episodes. Like I said in my last video, I really want to like this show. I don't know why we have regressed. I really hope they step up the writing. Guys, make sure you comment down below and let me know your thoughts on this week's episode. Am I tripping? Thank you so much for watching this video, especially if you watched until the end. If you like my content, please make sure you support the channel. Hit like on this video. Click like on this video and subscribe to the channel. I will be reviewing the show every week, so make sure you come back so we can talk about it. Comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. I'll see you in the next video.